Hi, this is Metalman, and I've been going through. I I don't know. I've talked to a couple of people about this, and I'm starting to think that this is the onset of midlife crisis. One of probably several I'm sure I'll go through, since you kind of have to have a life to have a midlife crisis. And really, aside from going to work and sitting here, that's my life. So if anything disturbs it, I'm sure they'll trigger another one. So I think there's a law that says that you can only have one. I'm sure a lot of people would wish there were. I'm sure I'm not the only one who will probably go through multiple. Uh, but one thing I've noticed, and this, I mean, there are a couple of things that started. A couple are not worth talking about, but one that is, take a little bit of explaining. But if you're watching this, you know me, and you won't mind that. About 25 years ago, I was living in Sioux Falls on McCrossan Boys Ranch because my dad was one of the counselor worker people there. And I was on phenobarbital, and in seventh grade, before when I was living in Mankato, for some odd reason we were thinking that phenobarb just wasn't doing it. And honestly, I don't know that it does, that it was. But okay, so they said we will start, and why they figured they'd do it this way instead of just waiting until the year was over to at least start this in summer, I don't know. But they said, okay, in eighth grade we'll start transitioning him from phenobarb to Zerontin. Zerontin, if you haven't seen it, is what I jokingly call a horse pill. It's about this big. I had to take three of them. They were gel caps, which, if anybody's taken a gel cap, knows you get one of those stuck in your throat, you are doomed to have it melt there. That happened to me plenty of times. At first, it wasn't so bad that I remember. It was like one in the morning and one at night. But then it eventually, for many, many years, it was 3 in the morning and 3 at night, and I had to take them with food. So not only was I taking bigger meds and more of them, this phenobarb, if you've never seen it, phenobarb's like this. It's teeny. It's about the size of a Claritin tablet. So those are easy. But I don't think I ever really took more than two of them. I think I had to take them with food, but they were so small, and they didn't dissolve right away. But anyway, we started going on that, and predictably, it messed up my mind enough that I almost totally failed eighth grade. Now, that was not all the medication's fault. A lot of that was I was rebelling because for the first year in my life, I was more than 15 minutes away from Montevideo, where I had been born, and Eagle Lake and Madison Lake, where I had gone to school. And and seventh grade was supposed to be the holy grail year for me because I went to school in kindergarten to third grade in Eagle Lake. Well, then we moved, and I was pissed. Well, then I started acclimating to Madison Lake, or All Saints School, which is a very lovely school. And okay, sixth grade, okay, all well and good. I graduated from All Saints, and then I went, and seventh grade was supposed to be the hallelujah year because everybody, or a lot of people from Eagle Lake and Madison Lake, were going to be going to Mankato East. Great. All these people I remember, and all these people I'd made friends with, now I've got them all in one place. Except I was a rather bit of an asshole in Eagle Lake. Partly because of my meds, partly because I'm just naturally an asshole. You know, I know people who like me won't want to admit it, but let's be perfectly honest. My natural attitude is a bit of an asshole. There's just there's no hiding that. So I went and I was trying to talk to people again. Like Jeff Huber was somebody that I vaguely remember. Chris Hensey. was somebody that I remember seeing there. Sheila Calhoun, Bridget Lechner. I don't know where Ann Lee went. I think she was there somewhere. Those are the four I can remember right off the bat. Mike Hurley, I think, was there. Eric Raditz, I think, was there. Garrett. Garrett was there. Eric Raditz? No. I don't remember what his last name was. But there were several people from Eagle Lake that I remember seeing there. And there were a couple from Maslin Lake, but the thing was, at first I was interested in kind of getting my little group together, which was part of a huge ego thing on my end to think, number one, anybody would even give a shit to hang around with me, which they didn't. And number two, that they were mine. Yeah, that was the height of stupid for me, or one of them. So it ended up that cannot remember his name, and I don't have my yearbook. Anyway, it ended up that I made friends with a couple of Cambodian guys who were really neat. They were really cool people. And Michelle Orman, I like talking to her every now and then. But it just really didn't go anywhere. Well, so we moved to Sioux Falls, and my mom and I were talking because honestly, my grades weren't getting much better. My attitude was still bad. And she said, we were talking, she said, if these don't work, we're going to have to try another medication. And I thought, fuck, no, sorry. But no, I'm not switching meds yet again because I know we'd have to do it in another school year, and that would mess up another school year. I'm not doing it. I said this to her, not to her, to me. So this was 88. This was about the time Star Trek The Next Generation came out, and I had been watching Jeremy Brett's Sherlock Holmes, Hercule Poirot. Basically, I was being exposed to, with Holmes and Commander Data and Poirot, I was being exposed to cold, logical people. People who, like Holmes, when he was on opium, he'd laugh. It was his way of releasing his emotions and having an excuse. He was high. He could do it. He wouldn't blame that on him because he was under the effect of a drug. Perot, every now and then you'd see him smile. I don't really remember him ever laughing. And Commander Data was the man without emotion, which highly appealed to me because I knew my emotions were the main thing that were getting me in a lot of this mess. So it took a while, but whenever I started having a strong emotion, whether it be sadness or whether it be rage or whatever, I started burying it. And it wasn't easy. It was damn difficult. I started burying it, and I just kept burying it. And it got to the point a few years later when my grandma died, my mom's mom, Grandma Hall. I was coming in. They had started the little service. I was coming in, the memorial, and I saw Grandma Hall, or Grandma Allman. Now, Grandma Hall was dead. Grandma Allman, bless her heart, was still alive, but she was mentally losing it. And it occurred to me that she was alone now. And I think this was part of the start of, I'm never going to learn my past now. Because Grandma Hall was cognizant. She was aware. But that's just something we never talked about, or nothing I remember talking about. I mean, if I asked her, it was like in 6th grade or something, 6th or 7th grade, when was the last time I was close enough to her to talk to her regularly. After we moved, I don't really remember seeing her much at all. Especially not after we took her to the nursing home. I think I saw her in the nursing home maybe once, possibly twice. But in fact, I found out that she had died the night before I was supposed to start Votech, September 5th. And that was it. There really wasn't anything else said about it. But I really got emotional, which was one of the first times I was really strongly emotional after I started burying it. And I went over to one of the staircases and I started to cry, and I forced myself to stop. I literally forced myself, which was not a good move, but that's what I did. So then what I had, that was really the last time I remember crying for somebody. I mean, I didn't cry when Grandma Ullman died. Although when Grandma Ullman died, I was actually at the wake and I was talking to people like Jerry Hiddle. Something that I think may have helped a little bit because Uncle Ken was still alive. My mom's stepbrother was still alive. And I think if I had gone in there, and maybe he did talk to me later and tell me some stories about, Grandma and Grandpa, who I never met either one of my grandpas. They were both dead before I was born. Which is another thing that kind of built resentment up in me, is I was told many times, and this is no fault of theirs, they were trying, but I was told when I would do something, oh, your Grandpa X would have just loved this, or Grandpa Y would have just found this amazing. And I'm growing up in an area, now it wasn't common knowledge whether anybody had grandparents. It was just something I think a lot of people took for granted. If you're 6 or you're 8, you have a grandpa. You have grandparents. Yes, I did have two. I had Grandma Hall and I had Grandma Ullman. I didn't have a grandma and a grandpa. Over the course of the years, Laura and I kind of adopted grandpas like Mr. Fashionette. Cannot for the life of me remember his name, but he was a older man and he was really nice to us. And we kind of semi-adopted him. But we never had one ourselves, and that just kind of, like Grandparents' Day was the worst. Because that was the one day, and it always landed on a school day. But that was the day when you started hearing those tales. And Grandma Hall, bless her heart, was kind of a curmudgeon. So she was nice to the kids. But more than once I would hear her and Mom arguing about something. And Grandma Ullman, who was a sweetheart, was suffering dementia. She was not always fully there. So it got to the point where my two grandmas, one I could kind of talk to. Grandma Hall I liked because I could go over and watch Nickelodeon, which had like Car 54, Where Are You, Bewitched. She had a means of getting the 60s Batman and the Musters and the Addams Family, and a lot of shows I liked at the time. So I didn't care what they said. I was off. I was happily watching TV. Grandma Ullman was a pack rat like I am. So I could go in Grandpa's room and I could dig through the things and I could find all sorts of neat things to just kind of play around with. It's like a treasure hunter. But that's what I had, and I didn't really connect with them ever. I just really didn't know how. So, and she died, I want to say she died in 95. But that was family that did it. Another thing that made me just really resent emotion on any level was when we went, I believe it was in 89 or 90, we went to Lanesboro, which is a very nice town. And I met a girl called Mina Hazelroad, who was really sweet. And I don't know why she did it. I don't know. I've never asked. But Laura seemed to like to play matchmaker with us. And that was fine. I was having fun with it, I guess, but one of the things that really got me was we were expecting to leave, I think, at some time in like the early or mid afternoon. And Mina and her friends or somebody were going to put on a play or something in the park slash whatever. There was one of those little stone, like little mini amphitheaters. It's not all that big. You can a classroom in a school is probably bigger than this, but it was something the kids could do. And I was like, well, I'd like to go to it, and I don't remember if they said we could go or we'd see, but we left before we could go, and that just burned me because this was somebody that I really one of the things too is I didn't ask her for her address really until a rush. And I don't think I ever wrote to her. At least I'm hoping I didn't ever write to her because if I did, I was so full of hormones. I can just imagine what that letter would have been like. But it just really it burned me because here was somebody, the first person that I liked that was showing somewhat of an interest in me. And I was starting to know, I only knew her maybe for, I think we only were together talking, whatever, for maybe 2 days. Maybe like 5 or 6 hours total, out of the week that we were probably there. But it was more contact in that way that I'd ever had with somebody or would ever have with somebody. Let's be blatantly honest. Because of that, I got the opinion somehow that it just wasn't going to work. It wasn't for me. Love was not for me because something would always come in the way. So whether or not that's what my parents thought, and I can almost guarantee they didn't. In fact, not almost. I can guarantee they didn't. But that's how I saw it. So any relationships I've had since then, I've purposely sabotaged because I could not stand the thought of getting close to somebody and then losing them again. I just was not, I could not do it. I could not lose somebody else again that I cared for. I was not capable, and I don't know if I'm still capable of handling that. I don't know. The only honest relationship that ever had a chance was with another lady named Ann Lee in this case, when I was up in Wilmer. And I liked her, I really did. And to this day, part of me still does. But socially, I'm so far above awkward, it's painful. Watching me try and interact with other people socially will probably cause physical pain to somebody. I'm just horrible at it. I've never learned it, and that's one thing I don't think I ever will learn. I just don't think I'm capable of learning that. So I went, we had gone to pick her up, me and my roommate, because she wanted to go. We were meeting her folks who lived in Atwater, which is a nice little town. And they were cool. We were sitting there, just jabbering about whatever. And we were going to go, I think, to the Wilmer Mall for something. I don't remember. There were a couple of times groups of us went to see a movie like Major League. I think we went and saw, or was it Major League 2? It would be whichever one was around in 95. I think it was 2. But we sat and we talked. We did go on one date. And one time when she came over to study with me, we started talking a little bit. And whatever the thing with Mina came back for whatever reason. And I told her she was far better off without me. And it hurt. It hurt to the point I had a tape deck, one of those long black tape decks. I picked it up by the handle and I threw it through a wall because I couldn't. I knew the minute she walked out, I'd lost her permanently for good. That was it, and it hurt. And it was one of the few times that something was so strong that I couldn't hide it. I couldn't bury something like this. It was like a body blow, basically. I didn't know what to do. So after that, I just gave up. I mean, I did have a relationship when I went to Wenatchee with a lady who was very nice, but it became, after a couple of years, which was slow for me, it became obvious. I mean, I think it became obvious even closer than that. But after a while, it became obvious that I was just there to be around somebody else who would put up with me. That was pretty much the only reason I was in Wenatchee anymore, is I had found somebody that would put up with me, that I could, try and help raise kids, because I still believe to this day I'll ever have them myself. I just can't see anybody willing to donate their body for that one. Yeah, at least I hope not. They're pretty damn desperate if they're doing that. I was thinking though, and this came up in my mind a couple of days ago. I don't know how it did. I think it started, the cracks in my armor for this really started on National Coming Out Day. And it has nothing to do with sexuality, because my sexuality to me is ugly. I'm thoroughly disgusted with my body, with my being. I can't ever picture anyone romantically, man or woman or whatever else, being physically involved with me. I feel repulsed. Not because I wouldn't find them handsome or pretty or whatnot. I just think anybody being intimate with me that's just physically deplorable. I've kind of picked myself as asexual in that context because just the thought of sex alone, anybody having sex with me, I just can't. I don't want to think it. No, I can't do it. So I don't mind being, I don't mind talking to people. I don't mind getting a hug every now and then, but that's about where it stops. So, but the reason why that really got me is because I was seeing a lot of people coming out telling their stories, and it occurred to me how honest they were with themselves. They had taken a lot of time, a lot of thought. They had said, "This is me, this is who I am, this is what I am, and this is okay. Whether or not people I know like it, this is me." And I've just never been able to do that. I was talking to my sister and somebody else. I said the only emotion I seem to be capable of, an emotion, and you can't really call it an emotion, because it's not. I feel, when somebody says that you feel cold and unemotional, that's the best definition. It's like there's a void in my chest. There is literally nothing there. I don't know if I'll ever get it back. I mean, I've been living this way for at least 20 years. And so it's to the point I don't know if I could handle it, if I ever did get it back. So I was looking at this and I was thinking, if you follow me on Facebook, Raving Rendell or whatever, you'll notice in the past couple of days that my I'll be posting things, but I'll be getting a lot more aggressive. And I don't know if that's just the me that I've been trying to bury since 8th grade coming out again. In which case I'm not sure I should really stop it, or if it's just because this one of the other things that hit at that time was a picture and a Twitter picture of more people doing this saying something to the line, there's a reason it's called White House, meaning that Barack Obama is a black man and therefore does not deserve to be president because he's not white. Okay, it probably wasn't the best idea to include a skin-headed man in the photo for that shirt, just saying, but that's what's out now. And the thing with Twitter that really got me, and this is what really sparked a lot of it, was there were people, and I think some of these are just sheep who, in fact, some of them were sheep who were retweeting, but I think some of them were just, oh, that looks really cool, but I don't want to retweet because everybody will think I'm a loser, so I'll copy and paste it, but I'll post it. Therefore, people will think it's me who said it. And what they do is they'd post it and they'd put the hashtag, the little number symbol, and say, not racist. Really? You're making a racist remark, but because you say it isn't racist, oh, it's not racist. No, 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 that's not racist. Yes, yes, it is. This not bullshit is not gay was another one. You know, oh, he looks, or no homo was the one. It's like, oh man, that guy looks good. No homo, no homo. I don't give a fuck. Sorry again. One of the things that me and my sister used to do when we would make the drive up to the University of Minnesota for my doctor's appointment, was we'd go through downtown. And we did this at least once that I can remember, and I'm sure we did it more. But we were looking at people. We were going up there around lunch break, so there were people walking on the streets, and we were pointing, hey, that guy looks really neat. Oh, his outfits, oh, her dress is just amazing. And we were both doing it, so it was really freeing that we could just openly compare people. And I've been doing it ever since. To me, I don't care. You want to say, hey, Jack Sparrow looks good. Yeah, he is kind of hot. Good for him. I have no trouble saying that. Why should I? I'm not going to put no homo at the end of it because there's no way in hell that Johnny Depp and I are ever going to be a couple. Okay, I'm pretty certain about that. And with that beard, I don't think I'd like it anyway. Sorry. Considering my beard feels like bristles, I can just imagine what kissing a beard would be like. It'd be like kissing a Brillo pad, and that thought doesn't do anything for me. I'll leave you with that little picture. But yeah, so there was that, and there were some people during coming out day that were real idiots and just didn't help in the case either. So what I did find one feeling. And again, I don't feel it because there is really no, aside from disgust, there's no real feeling in my chest anymore. But it did affect me. And this was something that happened 8 years ago. I want to say 8 or 9 years ago. I had created a character. If you look at my Twitter, if you look at Plurk, Facebook, she's there. That's who it is now. A character called Spider Farina. And I'd created another one called Maria. And Maria was a female feline gargoyle. She was a character I created for Fur-Irk, or whatever the Furry Irk channel is, or Tapestries or Furmuck or that kind of thing. When I found the furry fandom, I had a dream that with her in it, this feline gargoyle. in the dream, and I named her Maria, and it just kind of seemed appropriate if I was going to try and interact with a fandom like that. My mind had made a persona, and I might as well run with it, and I did for a while. And then Spider was somebody who I made in like 2000, 2001. She's still alive today in Second Life. Spider was an attempt because where I was, yes, I had a kitty goyle or a gato goyle, as some people called her, but she was feline. And if you know anything of the furry culture, there's lots of wolves, there's lots of foxes, there's a shit of felines and rabbits. Okay, so I wanted to be something else. And when I was a kid, I had a real fascination with spiders. I lived on the basement, and there was a little like utility room or storage closet. And there were a lot of spiders in there. They never really left, that I remember. They never really got out into the house. They mostly stayed in there. But I would go in there, and when I really wanted time, that was my time alone spot. I would go in there, and I'd feel them around, but they were like daddy long legs and something, so I knew they weren't going to do anything. And it wasn't until I made the mistake of watching Arachnophobia and Doctor Who's Planet of the Spiders back to back that I got a real healthy dose of arachnophobia. If you ever watch those two back to back, believe me, you will too. So I decided, well, if I'm going to do this, it's going to be something that is way out there. And I created what I called a spider tour. A centaur, which everybody knows is torso up, human, torso down, horse. Well, this was torso up, human, torso down, spider. Okay, maybe playing a spider, it'll give me something new. Maybe I can get over this fear. Humanizing it, basically, making it less of a threat. I also made her hermaphrodite for the sole reason that I had a male character and I had a female character, and I really didn't feel comfortable as either one. So I figured, well, she'll be feminine in body, but she'll have the equipment of a male. Therefore, it's kind of meeting halfway. It's allowing me to role play feminine if I want to, but then if I slip into a masculine role, there's a reason. Okay, that's taken care of. And one thing, I'll get back to the point in a minute. One thing I noticed, and I posted this in the pictures I posted when I changed my profile, is for the first few years of her life, it was me learning to play her. And then at some point, when I was in Second Life and I was still a GM there, I noticed something. It was like somebody flipped an electrical switch, and it wasn't me playing her. It was her responding the way I would in reality. And for a little bit, I tried it a little bit, and it seemed okay. There were things that were coming up that it was just easier for me to answer as myself than try to think up of some way that she could respond to, because they were things I had been through, so I had things that I could say. And as that happened, I noticed something. Nobody really seemed to catch on, that the voices had switched. It wasn't her voice anymore, it was mine. And we ended up merging in a way, to the point where Spider, who's still in Second Life, it isn't roleplay anymore. It's not fantasy anymore for me, in the sense that it is my mind being put into these situations and how I would choose to handle it. There is no roleplay anymore. And a lot of people would say, oh my God, that's dangerous. No, not really. It hasn't changed me any. It's just given me another way to socialize and to interact, maybe not in a setting that's believable, but it's with people who have come to accept that the voice of Spider, whether it's role play or actual, is the one that they know and they're comfortable with. So it gives me a little more freedom. But that's the setup for this, and the fact that you can see how my life has been affected by this. Well, between Second Life and the Fairy Mucks, the lady I was living with found a BSM muck called Les Jardins, which was a beautiful place for a muck. I mean, it wasn't graphical, it was all text. But they have put if you've ever been in Tapestries or Fairy Muck, or any muck for that matter, you know that description is what makes it. This is a book, basically. It's a choose your own adventure book, where if you step into a room, the more detail in the room, the easier it is for you to acclimate yourself to that surrounding and interact with it. Now, there are some places in Tapestries where you could go through and the thing would be this long and it'd just have, all sorts of things you could look at and interact with. And then there were some things like that. 2 sentences, no more. But it was a room, and sometimes it'd be like a hallway or something like that, and you don't really expect anything out of that. But sometimes those were major rooms. Well, Les Jardins, the average was about like that, which is a good healthy amount. That's a good sized paragraph, maybe 2 shorter paragraphs, but still a lot of content. And so it was really easy to get into the story. And one thing that I always liked, Angela was, and still is, a brilliant coder. She has had no training, but if somebody can teach her, she can do it. She created a hedge maze in Les Jardins, and she had a piece of graph paper. Every inch of that graph paper was that maze, and she had it all coded. The rooms were like this big. She had teleporters, she had fountains, she had benches, she had campfires, she had all sorts of stuff. Teleporters wouldn't take you to the same place. Sometimes they wouldn't take you to the same place twice. It was amazing what she could do. Well, somebody else, Maria, they had a campfire, and that's where most of the social chat would be. Maria, and I was going to bring this out for a prop because I do have it. I have a black messenger bag that I wore for many years. And because Maria was me, in a sense, she had the messenger bag as well. And for those of you who play D&D, it acted like a bag of holding. She could put anything in there that she wanted. So she would pull out like cookies. If somebody decided now was time to, somebody wanted to reenact their favorite moment from a Cinemax skin flick, she'd pull out the popcorn. Anybody else want more? Here's a popcorn cart, grab your own. She was just good for that. Somebody, and I cannot remember who, found this, was making dolls. Little scripted objects that would do things, and I don't remember if they made one because I requested or if they just made one for the hell of it. But Maria's doll also had a bag of holding. And one thing, and I still do this sometimes, and somebody will poke me, I'll go meep or something like that. So it's just a fun little way of me saying hi or something like that. And it's kind of caught on. As far as most people just don't think anything of it when they do it, or when I give that reaction. But she'd meep and she'd kind of giggle and squirm a bit, or she'd offer you a cookie. I don't know where this came from. If she got bored or something, she'd take out a little bicycle and ride around. When we left, I don't remember if we left because they closed or something happened and we left. Angela gave me the code, swearing somehow, some way she'd recreate it because it meant a lot to me, and it still does. And it never did. And Lejard is gone. I'm sure the code's long since gone. Even if I do have it, I have no way of recreating it. But I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that last night too. And out of a lot of my life, that is the only thing that I can think of, the only memory anymore that I can dredge up that still makes me tear up. I am a little bit now. I don't know why. I don't know what is so special about something I never could see. Something that was nothing more than a couple of pages of ones and zeros. But it was perfect. Somebody looked at me, followed my reactions, and made a true mini me. And I liked it. And I'll never have it again, ever. There's no way I'll ever have that again. So, yeah. Yeah, this has been almost an hour. I know nobody will watch this, so yeah, thanks for skipping because believe me, if I saw this, I would too.